Hey guys, so what's going on with Bitcoin? I keep getting this question asked over and over and over and over and over again. And you know what? I decided let me just do a little quick video, give you my perspective on it. And of course, before I do that, I must put the disclaimer and the clarity that this is not to be taken as advice. This is not, I'm not a financial advisor. I have no credentials in that field whatsoever. So this is merely my opinion. It's merely my own personal assessment that I'm using for myself. And if you choose to use this as part of your information, as to make a decision on your own, you decide to choose to do something on your own, you're doing so at your own risk. Remember, this is a very volatile market, and there are people who have lost a lot of money, and some others that will continue. That is the way the game is set up, which is some people gain, some people lose. It's just a zero-sum game, as they like to call it. So keep that in mind. But what I will do is I'll give you a as simplified version as I can uh, to what I'm seeing, and based off of reports that I've also watched other analyzers. I've also consulted with other individuals, and based off of all my information I've put together, here's what I am seeing, and here's kind of how I'm kind of going about this market. It is a scary move, especially if you've just come in. Especially if you came in somewhere around December. If you look at this chart right here, this is a chart that has a lot of data from way back. That's from Bitfinex, the Bitcoin against the US dollar. And especially back in like December, so those individuals who bought in December, these are individuals who came in and bought and were riding the wave up here and were just excited. And if you understand market psychology, this is where people start to think that they're going to buy their Lambos and they're going to buy their huge houses and everything else, and a state of euphoria in a sense. Okay, markets will have a natural ebb and flow. We'll go up and we'll go down, and we've seen this. We've known that this is coming, and that there's something like this was coming. Now, as far as timing, exactly what it would happen, historically, you can go back through history and see that back in the previous Decembers, that there have Decembers and Januaries, there's dips. See, there it is, right around. Go back to some. Let me look at it. You got November. You got September here of 2017, and then here we got November of 2017. You got some dips there. We go back to 2016. If I make this chart bigger, let's look at that. Okay, so 2017 still. Let's go back a little further. 2016. Okay, here we go. We're going into the Novembers and to the Januaries, and coming out of it in February. Now, it's been known that around those months there's dips, and some of them a lot of people tie it into the Chinese New Year, Wall Street getting their bonuses, people having a little bit coming out of the Christmas holiday season, so on and so forth. Attribute it to what you will. There seems to definitely be some ebb and flow and some definite patterns that show up. But what we're looking for in overall, and we're looking at, this is a 1 hourly chart, which I shouldn't even be looking at. I meant to put a day chart. Let's look at a day chart, which gives us a much better perspective there. Okay, there we go. That's why I was kind of seeing what was going on here. Here we go. So now we're looking at daily. I don't know why I was looking at the hourly. It got a little, I guess I moved my chart. But if you see this, you can see it a lot clearer now. You got January, dip. This is 2017. You've got 2016, January, dip right there. Now, it may not seem very big, but if I enlarge it, you can see that the dip was significant. You see this little green cloud and red cloud. It has a name, the Chimoku cloud, doesn't matter. But the point being that this is greens means that it has a good deal of support, and red meaning that it has resistance. So as you dip again to here, it's like, how is it going to be able to hold that support, and what happens after that? Now, notice the interesting pattern here as we're looking at these charts, and there's a big dip, big scare that people get. What tends to happen afterwards? If there's enough support of it that tends to come out, it has its little ebb and flow, it tends to consolidate for a little while, and then big moves come after that. Look at that, new all-time highs, boom. Then again, now started dip, 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 dip below the cloud. So wow, oh my God, is the world coming to an end? Is Bitcoin going down the whole bit? And then it starts to recover. If you see a nice impulse, then it starts to consolidate again, and then after that, look at that, the new all-time high. And then we repeat the pattern. We go, look at this huge drop, huge drop. I mean, is the world coming to an end? Is Bitcoin done? Is it history? And then here we go again. There's a little bit of a push, consolidation, push again, consolidate again, and then after that, boom, an all-time high. Okay, and here we go again. I mean, so as you start to see these patterns, and you're going, Now these are people that are freaking out. Obviously, it's going, my God, I just, the market's falling, it's all dying, and then people are buying it up, thinking they're going to be able to pick up off of that, and then here we go again. Then there's another huge drop, and then they start to sell off, and so on and so forth. So you got to think of these, even though they're little candles, they tend to represent what they are. They're representing exactly a price movement of up and downward direction, as people buying and selling off their Bitcoin. So as we continue down this path, you can see that there's patterns, and I think my point's made that there are certain patterns. But what we're looking at is an overall trend as well. So one of the things to be able to do is go, okay, where are we? When you look at the bigger picture now here for this. Now, this is not even the bigger picture, because let me take a step back for a moment and see where we really are in terms of the history of Bitcoin. And for that, we need to go to a much larger time frame. So let's look at a month's time. Look at this. Okay, so you just saw on the daily. So one of these candles represent an entire month. So you got to think 30 to 31 candles, because depending on the number of days in the month, is represented by that. So as an overall, if you look historically, look at every market needs to have a correction, meaning it has to go up and it has to come down to be able to find its place where the price point is, where the appropriate price point is for that particular. And once it starts getting support, then it starts to move back up or down, depending if it doesn't find that support, then obviously will dip. So all those dips that I was showing you before, I mean, there are these little things right here, these little tiny candles, where you see there's a huge, now obviously the bigger the price movement, then the bigger that correction, then the bigger you see the candle. So this literally, this last 2 months, here's December right here, just flew all the way up to all-time highs, nearly breaking the 20,000. In some cases, actually, in some exchanges, actually breaking the 20,000. And now it's experiencing that nice, healthy correction. Now, can it correct further down? Yes, it can. Is this the time that it will do it? That is where the uncertainty right now lies. So that's where we go back and look at the shorter time frames and see what's going on from day to day and hour to hour. So in here, let's start with, let's just see what the patterns were. So there, if you notice, if I do a little ray here, okay, let's draw it right there. Okay, initially what was going on here, and I can actually draw that out probably here. I can hold it there, or I can put it actually this one, depending where I was looking at. We're looking at, these tend to be patterns that would show up to go, okay, well, is it holding the general trend? Even though it's dipped below it, is it bouncing back above it? Yes, it did. It tested again to see if it was going to fall below it. It didn't, and then it started to make its next move. Then it came back and tested it again and said, okay, here we go. Now, from here on, it broke all the way to an upside, and you can tell this by drawing a different ray here. If we were to break it down to about, move that a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. More like it. And let me move this up. Now, you don't have to know exactly all the details of this, but basically, here we go. It bounces, try to break an all-time high. It couldn't. It got rejected, so it dumped down. Try to break an all-time high. Got rejected. Try to break it a second time. Got rejected. And then a third time it broke through. So now once it breaks through a pattern, once it breaks through a trend, you generally tends to continue to have a nice move in that direction. Now, it could be the upside or it could be on the downside. So then you start sort of resetting your lines, and that's why you see people with charts with lines all over the place. And so now we're looking at, okay, well, what's the new trend? The new trend was right here. Okay, so if we're starting to see this trend here, that's where it was, and that's where it is, and so here we are. Now, could Bitcoin continue to fall? Yeah, it could. Now, it could very well try to test this. Now, it's already broken through and this this green part of the cloud. And now what we're trying to figure out is this thing going to bounce and come back and start its new patterns again? So we're really at a very interesting time where we're coming in here and saying, okay, what do we got? What's going to happen here? Now for that, there's other tools also that kind of give us an idea where we are. So let me pull some of these up and do a fib retracement. Okay. Oop. Okay, I took the time to draw this last time. And if you notice this, you don't have to understand all these numbers, but basically if you're doing charting, it's a Fibonacci sequence basically. And it's interesting to watch how the patterns, how it does provide really good resistance. So basically measure from a low to a high, and actually took all the way back to 2013. And look, when it got to about 1200, 1300, it got rejected and it tried to fight. It bounced, it got rejected, it bounced down. Now it broke through. Once it broke through, remember how we said, once it breaks through resistances, then you're starting to test out where's the new place, where's the new high. And if you we're just even looking at this, if you just knew just this bit of information, and all of a sudden you're going, huh, there's really not a whole lot of resistance. I'm already above, I'm already in support because I have a green cloud, this thing. And it looks like we may have a chance to break out. It gained popularity, momentum, and it broke, and it tried to go all the way to the next resistance. Now here's what I find very interesting. It tries to break through the next resistance, and it gets rejected. It tries to break through, rejected, try to break through, rejected. So it's kind of like it needs a break. It's like, okay, let me take a little break, gain enough momentum, and then build out. And so look at that, it burst through, and it burst right through. The more that it got rest, it seemed like the more that it was able to break through, took a little break, and then it burst up again. And now in here, it's the psychological barrier. Once it gets to the thousands, like 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, those have a psychological barrier, and you can almost guarantee that there's going to be a pullback. Now I can't guarantee it, but you know this has happened quite often. So there's the 5,000 mark, boom, rejected, but then it picked back, steam back up, and there it goes. Now here's another line, got tested again. So as you can see, it continues to pretty much break through. Now, sometimes it just blasts right through, like it gained enough momentum. So here it dipped down all the way down to the support line, and then it blasted through all the way up. Now, when it blasted through that one, it literally blasted through this, and it got rejected a little bit, and it said, we're going to try to fly this thing all the way to the moon. And it said, nope, you're not going very far. You don't have enough momentum. And again, right around the 20,000 barrier. So now it's got the big pullbacks that are coming in, and it's touching one of those major resistances right here. So now this is a very important point, right in the 96, 9300, somewhere in this arena right here. I'm going to draw a little rectangle so you can see it. Let's see if I can do a rectangle here. A rectangle. So right in this area, it's going to be very interesting because that's where we're seeing, is their support going to be able to hold? Now, if it holds, and this is where it's looking like, we're going to look at other things to see in a minute. You know, we're going to look at multiple pieces of information to find out, do we believe it'll hold? I believe it'll hold, but you know, that's my own. Obviously, I'll make my decisions off of that. Can it go down to 81, 82, 8300? Yeah. If it breaks, now if it breaks through that support, and if we've already broken through here, so it's already broken through one thing, think of them as walls. If it broke through that wall, and if it broke through that wall, and if it breaks through the third wall, now it's got a lot of momentum down. So it could potentially have the effect that it could come down to the 6,000s and then to retest that arena. And then again, there's another support. So it's like blasting through. So the more it comes down, the more energy is being expended on those sell-offs. People are getting rid of stuff, you know, just they're trying to cut their losses and so forth. And then there's a bunch of people waiting to pick up Bitcoin or pick up Ethereum. Because this Bitcoin ultimately affects, still king, it affects every other coin in one way or another. So some of them follow it, some of them follow right after it, some of them go completely against it. Most of the coins end up getting squished, and if you look at the market, that's why everything looks red, because of this big fall right here. Okay, and it's relatively not that big as you saw, relatively speaking. But if you put in money up here, obviously this doesn't feel very good, because you had to endure that. Now if you're holding and you wait for that to come back, and it does its its momentum upward direction, you're going to be very happy. But at this moment, it's probably not, something that we're very excited about. So as we hit here, if it hits there, I mean, it could literally bounce off of here, and this is where it's going to get interesting, because now we're going to look at a smaller time frames and seeing what's happening in the 4-hour. Whoa, let's fix that. Give me a second. Hold on for a second. I don't know what happened to my chart. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened with my chart, but now I'm back. So if we look in here, we said that it potentially could get down to the 80, 8100, 8200. Could it bounce off of here? Yes, it can. It's very likely that it could. And so in the 4-hour, it's still looking, if I look very closely here, see, you're starting to see potential for a bounce. See how there all of a sudden the candle started turning green and you've got volume coming in. And now this down here, those of you who understand RSI, I mean, this has been oversold for a few days actually now. Now let's look at the higher time frames, which means that, for those of you who don't know what this part is, it's basically when something gets oversold, and the market basically is exhausted on the sellers, and then now the buyers are coming in and starting to buy it back up. Same thing over up here. Generally tends to mean that it's been overbought, and that's when it starts to come down a little bit here, and you notice that it's starting to take some dips. Okay, now how big or how small those dips, there's other things that help you with that. But let's go look at, see what, if we see consistency. Here's 4 hours, here's 6 hours, so it's still, I'm going upward. So we're going to see, let me break it down a little bit better here. Let's go to the 3-day. Okay, so over 3-day, it looks like a huge red candle, right? Now we break down to 1 day. We've got 2 candles that are broken down. This one's a little smaller, so I'd like to see that. Now we go to 12 hours. Okay, now those candles gotten much smaller, telling me, hey, it looks like we might be coming towards the bottom. Now here it's saying, hey, you're oversold. So we'd like to see a great opportunity for buyers to come in. So buyers, as you can see, even turned green right now, started to come in. So now we look at the lower time frames. We may start seeing that there's more greens start to show up. Now here's a back and forth. Buyers, sellers still getting rid of their stuff. And now let's go to 4 hours. Okay, now I'm liking what I see. Potential bounce here. And obviously if you break it down to, now we're starting to see a little bit of an upward direction. Now it's still small. Again, this is not guaranteed that there's going to be, that we're ready for that bounce. This still needs to test a few things, and we need to see what it's going to do, because if it chooses to do something like this, where it comes down, it recovers to about there. Now from here, it could still take a little bit of a right along this cloud, and then from there, it could either continue down, and if it does, it'll test, and it could test all the way down to, well, initially to this one, and then if it breaks through that, then it could come down all the way down to here. Or, which we'd like to see better, is that this from here, it'll start to test these levels again and try to break through again, which is some very nice moves. Look at what we're looking at. We look at the 19, 20,000 again, and if it breaks through that 20,000, then you've got some really nice gains on the upside. People are talking this is going to be at 100,000 for next year, come around this time. So some people are going to be looking back, if that ends up being the case, going to look back at this and go, what was I worried about? Well, obviously it's right now it's not the case, and we don't know that. Nor am I making a prediction that it will, but I am watching it very closely and saying, hey, for this, I'm sitting there going, maybe I'll get in here. Maybe I'll actually go ahead and, buy some more. Or some of the other individuals go, okay, well, what are the other powerful coins? And let's take a look at some of those and see what we see. Let's look at just one of them, because I want to keep this video even short. I want to keep it short, but now it's getting really longer. So from here, this is Ethereum. Now, believe it or not, this is Ethereum. This doesn't look a lot like Bitcoin. See, Ethereum tends to follow what Bitcoin does. That's been its history. If I was to draw the same lines, I would probably see the same type. Look at that. I mean, let's just draw some of them so we can see what I'm talking about. So you've got support there. Okay, there's your trend. Okay, now there's a upper trend here where it did this. There it is. You can call it basically it's an ascending triangle. Once it broke through here, it went up a little bit, tested to see if there was going to be support, tested again, see if there was going to be support, and once there was, it made a bigger move. Now here's again another little triangle right there. If you see it again there, let me draw it. And there it is. And you can even draw it that way. So these are daily charts. Okay, so coming here, tested it, down, up, down. Did it break through? Once it broke through, boom, nice move to the upside. So again, here, where are we? Are we, are we at that portion where it's going to test back up and then boom, 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 and then shoot up? That's absolutely something that's possible. Now, if Bitcoin does decide to fall, and we know that Ethereum tends to follow Bitcoin, it could very likely be that it drops down as well. So when people say at the end of the day, Leo, I just wanted to know if Bitcoin, is going up, if it's going down. Again, I cannot tell you that this is what it would be irresponsible for me to tell you go buy or go sell. Now I don't sell in panic. I don't sell in these red lines. Those are panic lines. There's some people just getting rid of their stuff. Oh my God, I better just let go. I don't. I know there's going to be a bounce at some point. And within that point, obviously, if I needed to get out, if I feel that there's not enough momentum here to continue the upside, then my plan personally would be let me trade into something that can hold its value. Now, what would that be? If you don't know what USDT is, I would definitely learn about it. But USDT is another cryptocurrency that basically doesn't have as much volatility. Doesn't go up as high, doesn't go up as low. So what people tend to do is they tend to go and say, you know what, I'm going to sell off my Bitcoin into Ethereum to hold as much of the value as I can. And then once it's hit down the low, then I'll come in and I'll buy it there. Now, as a matter of fact, look at Ethereum. Oh my goodness, this is nice. I hadn't seen this little candle here, but there was a big gap that jumped in from the drop in price to down here. I'm now talking 864. This is just a couple of days ago, it was at 1400. So there's a nice little drop here. If I'm looking to buy in, this is why you see it going back between green and a red. If we look at the smaller time frame, oh, that was a smaller time frame. No, so here's a 4 hour. Okay, so it came down, boom, 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 and now it's come up. Now, look, isn't it looking a lot like Bitcoin? Where we see that potential of it coming back into here, testing out, and then seeing which way it's going to go. If it breaks down to the downside, that's obviously not a good thing. Trades to the upside, it could be a really good thing. So Ethereum, which is something that I've been building a little bit here and there, a little bit here and there, because I've obviously been trading in other coins as well. It would be one of those that I'm going, this is a really nice price to buy for me. And then when I see that it's oversold, then this thing has a nice upside to it, then I'm considering that. You see what I mean? So to summarize the entire process, and then to bring this video to a close as an update, do I believe that Bitcoin is dead? No, absolutely not. Not even close. I don't believe that at all. Do I believe that it can go a little bit lower? Yeah, it could. So I'm watching it really closely, and I have a plan for myself in place to go, if I see that it's not going to hold its momentum in an upward direction, I'll wait till it gets up in this, Bitcoin. Again. Bitcoin. Okay. If I see that it's not going to hold its momentum in the upward direction, then I may sell it right around here. Preserve my capital, let it dip to as low as it'll dip, and then pick it up on that bounce. And if you're saying, well, Leo, how do you know those? I don't know with exact, but I can go off of past histories, and let me give you a tool that I have here set. Tree. I think it's this one right here. I already laid it out here. Nope, I want to do the other one. Yep, okay. So historically, I know that this is a Fibonacci retracement. It's a historical one from the very beginning that I could get data on all the way to its highest point. Generally, cryptocurrency world, you generally tend to see bounces in specific spots, like the 3.8, this 38.2%, you tend to see a bounce, and we saw that bounce. You tend to see a bounce at the 50. Now, from the 50, it could continue its run up, and it's literally testing right there, right at the 50. It could continue its run up, or if it doesn't seem that it has the momentum that it needs, can this come down? What would it come down to? Potentially the next level, which would be somewhere in the 7,600. And if it blasts, then if it again, it'll a little bounce, it'll try to break through. If it can't break through, then it could come down to the 786, which would be obviously not a good thing for Bitcoin, but it's possible. Yeah. So anything's possible in this crypto market. So I don't believe it'll get to those levels. I believe that we're right at a very interesting time, and I believe that we're going to be right in this region right here to test it out and potentially see some really new all-time highs. Now, that being said, I had closed with the same exact phrases that I started with, which are, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is simply my opinion in my review of it. I hope it was useful to you. If you liked it, awesome, give it a thumbs up, share it with whomever you want, and if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to share whatever I share with my students as well. All right, you have an amazing day. Take care.